Welcome back to the Pete Rates channel. It's been a long time and it's about time that I updated anyone interested on the 109 Land Rover 1962 Series 2A, and quite a lot's happened. Let's get straight into it and have a look. Alright, so it's going to be a narration video. It's not going to be a lot apart from this smartphone update really. It's pretty self-explanatory. So let's some of the main features. The main feature for the chassis, which is still being repaired, front dumb iron. Now, if I take you over to the other dumb iron, before I take you over to the other dumb iron, if you are of a sensitive disposition to rust, make sure you're sitting down with a cup of tea. Ready? Okay, so here's the other front dumb iron, and to be honest, this one wasn't as bad as the one that I've repaired, so I've left this one until last. Okay, so the shackle, which is this piece here, is actually in serviceable condition. The chassis, which is this piece here, is self-explanatory, rotted away. If you look closely in here, you can see a sort of outline of a W shape, and that's the bolt guide. And these are the bolts. They come down a bolt guide. Now the bolt guide's totally rusted out. The bolt guide sits on another piece that goes a certain distance back, and also there's a large square hole at the back here. If I take you back to the other dumb iron, I'll talk you through some of the repairs. So it starts really with removing this part of the chassis and preparing the shackle to receive a new piece of metal. Inside you fit the plate, and then the bolt guide can go in on top, and the bolt guide you can just see. Let's zoom in on that, you might be able to see it clearly. The lights probably. Well, anyway, the bolt guide's in there, and it just these obviously aren't the bolts I'm going to use, but while I was repairing, it's a good idea to put the bumper on and make sure that the clearances are all sweet. I'll take you around to the back. There's a similar repair to the hole that's in the back. It's a 3mm repair. Let's go back. With this, you have to make sure you've got these datums to measure, which shows you how far out you're going to stick. Anyway, that's enough of the dumb iron. You know, it looks bad, it is bad, but it isn't too far gone. Now I'm in the process of taking the steering arm off. The drag link was a lot more bent than this one, and straighten that out with great difficulty, but we've got that straight, and this will be serviceable once it's off and ready for a straighten. The swivel seals are leaking on both sides, so we'll get those off later. The arm here, it's actually measuring at 17 pounds to turn it. It's quite smooth. I've oiled that up. I'm going to take the arm off for a spray, but anything under 12 it would need to be taken apart. It's measuring at 17 pounds with a spring balance, so that's okay. All the brakes are waiting to be taken apart and rebuilt. Okay, the bulkhead outrigger. I'm not particularly proud of this repair. I had to rebuild the bottom of the outrigger, and the bulkhead outrigger here is now safe. The one on the other side wasn't too bad. Now while I'm repairing it, I've left the frame harness in. I've put some tape on it. I've put 3 extra wires in for a reversing light and a fog light, plus a spare for anything that I can't think of at the moment. Maybe a spotlight or something, but using LEDs won't really overload the C40 dynamo that I'm using. Might be tricky to get positive earth LEDs, but I've managed to find one for the indicator. Had to do a little repair there. It's not very well painted. The fuel tank outrigger, and where the tub bolts on, done a bit of a repair there. It's not very good. I had to do a couple of patches here. Just got to grind it down so it's nice and flat so the fuel tank can sit there. So that's not too bad. Now, if you are sensitive to rust and you don't like to see it, I suggest you look away now as we go to the rear suspension front shackle outrigger. Okay, so here we are at that, and it needs, well, it's in the middle of an extensive repair. Starting from here, there was a little on the side. I've had a lot of rain lately. I've put a plate in where it needed here, which was rotted out, and it's waiting for a new plate. This square has a whole plate, and the plate carries on up this line all the way up to here. So it needs quite a large piece of metal to go in there. Yeah, there's the remnants of a piece here which doesn't go all the way down to the piece of metal. Okay, this is not a very good update explanation. This is just me. I'm doing it off the spur of the moment, really. So hopefully you can bear with me while I think of what to say. Like I say, I've left the wires in. Now it's because if I were just to leave a piece of string in and I welded in there and burst the string, I'd be in a real pickle. So I've left the wires in there, try and push them out the way. Obviously there's extensive repairs to do. You know, we know the chassis was real bad on this. This is new metal, and then this piece of new metal, it goes all the way over the shackle bracket, the outrigger bracket, which is there visible. The outrigger bracket is all solid. It's the chassis rail has rotted out, but I've repaired that, and it's gonna be okay. So moving along, these needed to be ground off, the rubber bump stops. These were a bit of a nightmare. The check straps, all the check straps are now off, and the 9/16 bolts are all loose. Got another little thing. Now the main thing about this Land Rover was, of course, the rear cross member is getting ready for a change. It's very, very bent. I don't know how you bend a rear cross member like this, but the ripples in the metal are outrageous. And at least we know where we are, because this square piece of metal is a reference point. It's not very accurate, but it is a reference point, as are these. I'll take you over to the other side, these, and we've got the reference for the square piece of metal here. But in its life, the rear cross member has been welded to the rear chassis here, like that. This is all fair enough. I don't know what this Bondo is doing here, but that's scary. And take you over to another previous plate repair. I mean, personally, I don't repair like that, and I'll be unpicking that and seeing what I can salvage from the end of the chassis. But looking down the other end with the rear suspension off, now I've only got one pair of axle stands at the moment, so the front suspension's got to stay on until the back cross member here has been done. The tow hitch is welded to the rear cross member as well as bolted. Now I wouldn't try to, I'd like to be able to repair the rear cross member, but it is too far gone for me. You know, and that's saying something really, because I don't normally let stuff beat me, but because it's so bent up, I've lost a lot of reference material has gone off this cross member with that bend there and that, which brings me to the next part of this update. Okay, so here I am at the next part of the update. I must say, I took the long wheelbase tub off single-handed with a car jack, some ramps, axle stands and some wood, and I've flipped it over, and one of the cross members, this one, is going to need to be replaced. This one may be repairable because it's just got a piece of rust up here. I might be able to, 30 quid a pop, you know, they're worth repairing if you could just get away with repairing them. Need some new material here, I'm going to have to get busy learning how to rivet these kind of rivets. Some pop rivets I'm okay with, but I've probably got to change out all my pop rivets because I want these off. The tub underside just needs a rudimentary clean, really. You know, it's had a leaking exhaust at one point, and so there's a lot of oil spat, which is a bit of a worry, really. The main problem with the tub, we're coming to it, and that is the rear mounting angle is destroyed. It sort of ends here, and I'll take you over to where it starts again here. And I don't know how someone could cut it off like that. That's a different part of it making that noise. But unfortunately for me, until I have a rear mounting angle, the rear cross member alignment isn't going to be as straightforward as I would like it. I mean, I can measure it from the datum, given the center of the differential to the back is 1 meter, but I would like to be able to measure it with this rear mounting angle in place, if that makes any sense. Anyway, so the tricky part is it's spot welded aluminium bracket is spot welded to the mounting angle. The mounting angle is bolted and spot welded. If I take you back to the other end, which I've cleaned up, you can't really see the spot welds, but there's one. There's a spot weld. There's about 3 or 4 spot welds here, and there's some spot welds along the front as well as these 2 bolts, and that will get this M shape mounting angle out, and then, you know, I can replace that. Now I haven't got an aluminium spot welder yet, so I'm going to use pop rivets, so it's going to look a bit ugly. In my defense, it's had a smack on the rear, and we could do with a new panel there. So there's still a lot of work to do, and this update. Let's go and have a look at the bulkhead. Well, when you would have last seen the bulkhead, it would have had a large hole in the floor, which is kind of patched up right now. So that's the hole there. Now there's still a few little repairs. There's a repair here to do. There's a repair here. The holes are much smaller now. There's some repair done there, and we have a puddle. We can keep some goldfish in there. Maybe not. Oh, let's have a look here. Yes, ready for the dip switch. Let's have a look at the front of the bulkhead. So she's needed extensive repairs for the pedal box area. A little bit of repair along this weather strip. We're still in the middle of repairing the windscreen support, so all of this had to be made up. And the worst of it, of course, is the fact that the doorpost is off, and I had to reconstruct most of the doorpost area had to be reconstructed. So this is totally fresh metal, as is this, and these little floor things I've had to reconstruct. The captive nuts for the floor panel. Anyway, so we're in the middle of recreating the doorpost. It's not a priority anymore because the bulkhead is pretty well safe. In regards to the gearbox, I've taken the front drive shaft housing off and basically just cleaning it up. I've taken the gear lever, selector lever off. It was covered in, what's this stuff called? It's the mastic. It's like wax oil, and the whole underside has been sprayed, including the gearbox. So I've had to rub it all off. It's like rubber stuff. It's unbelievable, really. It's very sticky, it repels paraffin, and it has to be scraped. But we're getting there. Got to take the supports off and clean the underside of it. Still, it appears to be solid and working, the gearbox, so I'm quite happy with it. As for the engine block, I'm turning it into a water feature. The engine block, it needs a lot of work, and it's just sat here ready for when the chassis is complete. I mean, the chassis is the priority. The engine, there's no point in having a running engine if there's nowhere to put it. So as a footnote, I did learn something while taking this apart. The inside of one of the rear wheel rims has a Land Rover balance weight screwed into the rim. So what it is, there's a cutout in the balance weight, and it slots in between the rim and this part of the rim. Take it back there, sorry, and it's bolted in. Well, screwed in with a special screw. 3850 I think is the part number. I've never seen one before. They're quite unusual, really, because they're usually balanced in the factory. Let's go and have a look at another wheel. I know it's a bit odd to be doing an update featuring wheels. This wheel, it doesn't have a balance weight. It does have the original green paintwork, which is how the wheels will be looking later on. Unfortunately, we are fitted with remold tyres, which have perished anyway, so it's going to be an expensive, long, painstaking journey. So thanks for watching. I could probably chat about this all day long, but I'm going to get on with it now and do another update. So thanks for watching, and see you later.